okay, I just want to talk about this movie because I actually fucking love Deathstroke, the character, and I'm glad they gave us the definitive Deathstroke adaptation of all animation form and live action form. This is the best adaptation of Deathstroke. This is Deathstroke's Knights and Demons, the movie. So what I love about this, that what I really love about this more than anything, that it captures not just certain layers of Deathstroke, but all layers of Deathstroke that you've seen in every comic issue, including when he's not even the main protagonist. Yes, he captured the twisted, messed up side of Deathstroke's nature. Besides the hero aspect, they also focus on the twisted, kind of almost the evil, messed up nature of that Deathstroke is. And I was shocked that the person who plays Deathstroke, D. Slade Wilson, Deathstroke is his supervillain, and also he's been supervillain, both hero in the comics, and something in between, which would be an anti-hero. He has played the villain side he mostly plays the hero side in the comics. And I gotta say, my least favorite adaptation is from Deathstroke is the Teen Titans cartoon show, because I feel like he didn't make Deathstroke, besides butchering his name and to change it to Slave. I feel like these made Deathstroke the next Claw, a generic villain that you don't really know anything about his secret identity. And that's not Deathstroke at all. Other than his design, he really resembles any of the respect you had for Deathstroke or the likability you had for Deathstroke from the comics. If you don't always agree with what he's doing. Personally, I think the Deathstroke that got killed off in the new Titan series, that's live adaptation, that, well, doesn't look like it focuses on team dynamics as much as on more focused on deconstructing heroes and bringing them out into our level, but it does that without looking like it really focuses on the team dynamics. It's okay if you do that, but you need to focus on team dynamics, and here it doesn't really do that at all. Barely, if to a minimum. Shit does that, so to a minimum amount. However, I hear the show's season 3 is going to be on HBO Max, so maybe they're going to have a different creative team. Maybe they're not just going to focus on the deconstruction on Dick Grayson, and maybe they're going to focus on other characters, but where the main characters clearly Dick Grayson in the show, and that's not really team. If you make we makes it so obvious who are you really focusing on, and that is, well, Dick Grayson. And it doesn't feel like a team show of deconstructing superheroes. It just feels like a standalone show featuring a team of superheroes, but without exploring the team of superheroes aspect. Sure, they explore the deconstruction aspect, but they don't really explore the team aspect. You have to do both when you make a show about a superhero team or a movie or anything. You should focus on the team. That should be your number one priority. And from all the clips I've seen and from what I've seen of little of episode 1, I haven't seen a full episode fully through. It doesn't look like it's bad from episode 1. It looks like it drops down quality when it comes to focus on the team dynamics. And from what I hear, And from what it looks like, season 2 is more of a reboot than a continuation. And I don't see how that works in favor as much as this finish. Anyway, but Deathstroke was cool. From when I saw him, it looks like it looks like he captured the respect and the likability that Deathstroke had in the comics. However, I think that he might be the best thing about this show, and he's the most thing that stands out in season 1 and season 2, and he gets killed off by his daughter, as well as Jericho, who is Beast Boy. And I hear he's going to be in season 3, but I don't know how they're going to bring him back if he was in his slave soul merged with Jericho, who's Beast Boy. But I don't understand how would they bring him back if that's following. I guess they could. Well, I guess the Arrows just kind of reboot the universe, so maybe they would find a loophole and not explain it, but just explain the universe. Yeah, but to do that, we would have to explain the Arrowverse, at least mention it, mention Crisis, but without explaining how he brought Jericho back. I don't understand. But here, as far as I know, Slade Wilson's not really in, who is Deathstroke. He's not in season 2. It doesn't look like he plays that much of a big role, but he was casted really well and written really well, but it doesn't look like he plays a big role until the end of season 2, from what I can research for season 2. You know, I haven't seen either season of Titans. That's the show called Titans, not the Teen Titans. Probably because most of them are adults. And they're not teenagers. Half of them are Titans, half of them are... It's a mixture of adults and teenagers, so maybe that's why they call them Titans instead of the Teen Titans. And, yeah, so... That's all, and I guess say, I thought the best Slade Wilson in live adaptation is the one that got killed off in the Titans season 2. I mean, that's the best Slade Wilson to me, since is the best Slade Wilson's that's the best Slade Wilson, the second best Slade Wilson, and I don't have a third of my favorite Slade Wilson, who is Deathstroke. And I did found, the guy that played Deathstroke in Teen Titans season 2. However, I feel like he was a better Deathstroke than the one from the original Teen Titans series, okay? Because I feel like they tried to make him a likable character besides menacing, and they succeeded at both, but they didn't succeed at that he doesn't see himself as a villain. He's not trying to do villain things. He sees himself as a hero, and he's trying to do good deeds. And I guess, I mean, he always saw himself as the hero of the story most of the times, and even though he does messed up things, he still sees himself as an honorable warrior. And that's what this will show you. And you feel the honor that he really believes it. And that's what this movie really focuses on. The character arc makes more sense than is more deep and complex than the actual story. Sort of like Lego Batman. Because, and in fact, actually this is very similar to Lego Batman, except it's more of a darker, twisted, played for straight version of Lego Batman, and it's rated R. And I like how it feels like it's not just rated R just for the sake of it, like Justice League Dark Apocalyptic War, or most rated R stuff since they made the rating. I feel like this is, and it's not, and it's not. It's I feel like it feels like it's one of those movies that's rated R for a reason, because it tells a serious, dark, twisted, complex, and deep story about an unlikely hero. Well, about a really strange, unlikely hero who's kind of like Batman in the comics. Except Batman doesn't kill. That's the only difference from Batman in the comics. See, Batman has very similar character traits to Deathstroke does. And I know a lot of people like compare him to Deadpool, but really, you really should compare him to Batman, because his character is much more similar to Batman than it is Deadpool. So they carry swords and guns and kill, but that's all he cons. He doesn't break the fourth wall. He's not quirky, goofy like Deadpool. He takes himself actually very seriously, to a point maybe a little too seriously, to a point you're a little concerned for him. And you're wondering, okay, your clearly motivations are good intentions, but you're kind of nuts, and I'm kind of worried that because you're kind of wondering, you're not fully on board with him, but you're not fully against what he's doing. Because you know that he is not well in the head. And the only difference between him and Batman in the comics, not the movies, because we couldn't have a Batman that lets people, we just couldn't have a Batman that kills people or lets people die. So we made him basically into a knockoff version of Deathstroke who dresses like Batman. A damn fool. Basically. A knockoff. Wow. And in fact, the best live adaptation of Batman is the ones from the 40s and the 1966 era. Adam West version. Those are the three best, only good Batmans that feel like Batman from beginning to end. Because, yeah, they take themselves seriously, but you kind of feeling like kind of a little nuts. Adam West plays it kind of high. They'll focus on Batman's insanity as much in the Adam West era as they did in the two runs before Batman, which were serials. Not actual cereals. A different kind of cereal, okay? Not the one that you eat. They're basically like basically kind of like a little, basically kind of like sort of like TV shows, but brought to the big screen, and that's exactly what they were. Every week you had a go to see the theater. In the 40s, one came out in 1943 and 1949, I think. I have them right here, both of them. 1949, the second one, and 1943 is the first one. And that's the first adaptation of Batman in history, before cartoons also. So, yeah. And also the first adaptations, first two, the one from 1949 and 1943, were also the first adaptations of Robin, the Boy Wonder, and Alfred. They had different casts, and the main cast, they had different casts, and in both serials, or if you really know what you're talking about, they call serials, not series. But for those of you who don't quite not following along, we're calling them series. And while they both play by different casts, they both, I can only guess this, I'm pretty sure they take place in the same continuity, both series, because it actually takes off years later, where it starts off years before where the last series left off, and explains the whole thing of what went down in the last series, and explains years later they haven't time has passed and they haven't been seen since, and then they are needed once more because a new threat, a more sinister, more intimidating villain is come. And you don't know who this villain is until the end. It throws you in all different directions, and Batman and Robin try to figure out who is this masked villain, but it's not. It throws you on a bunch of different directions. He pretty much gets everyone, and it's revealed at the end, and it makes sense, but you're also shocked at the same time. It makes sense when it feels like it makes sense. Okay, it just feels like it comes together really well. The twist and so yeah, and then you get to the Adam West era, which goes to 1996 to 2017, the year that Adam West died, because there was 3 seasons of the Adam West show and 3 movies. The last 2 were cartoon shows, and yeah, they do count. And also there was also Legion of the Legends of Superhero crossover event. I'm kind of that too, because technically all these things take place in the same continuity, except for the Super Friends cartoon shows and the Adam West cartoon show when he played Batman again, and so did Burt Ward played Robin, and also in the Super Friends shows. There were several spin-offs of the Super Friends, so that's why I say Super Friends shows. They're the Justice League, but they're not called the Justice League. They're just called the Super Friends. So, like how the Superhero Squad show is the Avengers, but they don't call them the Avengers. Or how Slade Wilson in the comics is his secret identity, and his hero identity is Deathstroke, his vigilante identity. But in Titans, Teen Titans Go to movies, and Teen Titans Go show, and the original cartoon show, the Teen Titans, both shows are cartoons, they call him Slade, and that's just, I'm just going to say, they also, I like how in the movie they poke fun how Slade's a really fun name to say dramatically, Slade. But I don't think it's as fun to say dramatic as Deathstroke. Deathstroke. I mean, Deathstroke is a much more fun name to say dramatically than it is Slade, to me, I think. It was a much more intimidating name than Slade. I just realized how wrong that name sounds, that you change, that actually sounds a little worse than Deathstroke, and more controversial than Deathstroke, and less kid-friendly, because when you say the word slave, it almost sounds like slave. Like black slavery. Boy, that's more kid-friendly than Deathstroke. It's like, and then you have Cyborg, who's a black guy, and it's like, did no one ever think this through? I mean, and I was a kid when the original Teen Titans show was on. I mean, I was a minor, so ish, a young minor, and I saw it, and I couldn't help that name. I was surprised he used that instead of his comic name, because that sounds less kid-friendly than his actual comic name, Deathstroke. And that when he's in the suit. Slade. That almost sounds like slave word, slave. Jesus. I can't believe that no one thought that through. That almost sounds like slave. Maybe the creators thought that and show and they just thought it would be kind of funny for people not never catch on except for me. I don't know. I don't have the answer to that. So this Deathstroke is his legal name, and also his secret identity. And his vigilante name is Slade Wilson is his legal name and vigilante. His secret identity, and his vigilante name is Deathstroke. So I just want to bring this up to anyone who's confused who was Deathstroke. It is that guy who you didn't and you don't really know him in the Teen Titans either cartoon series, because you don't really get his personality or his name right, other than the costume. And that's why I said that he's except for the new Titans show called Titans Season 2, it looks like he got his elements right. And from what I've seen of season 2, I've seen clips of it, and I just want to see how Deathstroke was playing. He was the best in live adaptation, the second best next to this Deathstroke. And the person, I don't know if I told you this, who plays Deathstroke in this, the character, also Slade Wilson, is nobody else than, and I was shocked when I looked this up, when I Googled this up, because I want to see what year it came out. It came out in 2020, and I want to see who plays Deathstroke, who does such a good job bringing this character 100%. All layers up that I've seen in every comic issue, who brought all these layers to the character that we've seen in the comics. And it was nobody else than Michael Chiklis. Yes, Michael Chiklis signed on for another comic book movie, and he does a much tremendously better job than he ever did as the Thing, and it proves to you how much he was not giving a shit and phoning in when he did the Thing, or was just confused. And, of the script. But I'm starting to think he was kind of phoning it in on purpose, and giving that, on performance on purpose, because the Thing is so much more complex and more torture than, well, Deathstroke ever was, because part of that complex he has is because the way he looks, and he ends up scaring most people, and they do hint that on, but they do hint at that, but it's only in like one scene, and that's his wife, but yeah, you feel bad for him, but you wouldn't feel bad for him if you felt like the whole world resented him and was afraid of him until he and you feel like, and also this other guy was about to commit suicide that Ben tried to save and try to ask him not to, try to talk him out of doing it. He ends up getting scared. And afraid that the Thing's going to kill him or something, even when he's trying to commit suicide. That's just dumb. It's just lazy writing, I feel like. I feel like the Thing was a much well-written character in the sequel, as well as the other characters, the three other of the four. I felt like they knew better what to do with them, and knew what, they also did more stuff of what not to do with them, and did a better job of what to do with them, and worse stuff and what not to do with them, as in turn them into mostly punchlines, to turn them before into punchlines, except for Johnny Storm and the Thing, and they kind of got Storm better in the sequel, but Mr. Fantastic, Mr. and Mrs. Lawrence are both they made them punchlines compared to the comics counterparts, and I do like those two Fantastic Four movies, but they're not my idea of a Fantastic Four movie. Like, this is my idea of a Deathstroke adaptation. Same goes for pretty much every live adaptation Avengers film. I like them, but none of them are my idea of an Avengers film. So the same goes for the Fantastic Four films, even the Roger Corman one. Which I'm just going to say that's the least interesting one. Even though it does have the most comic book looking of Doctor Doom, someone should have dubbed his dialogue. You can't really understand him that much because I guess no one thought, was dubbed ever invented back then? Well, I know looping over I think it was because loop and dub are the same thing, basically. They go hand in hand, they're basically the same thing, so they could have edited they could have just recorded his dialogue and not have him say anything when he was in the suit. And just have him move his jaw up and down. But it doesn't look like he could move his jaw because it looks like this one metal piece of a skull, and you guys